We are
Shani anytime. It doesn't. You can talk to Shani anytime. It doesn't matter day or night. Shani, giving you light and love. We're coming on without a doubt. There's nothing you can't talk about. Shani, get ready to start the show. You're on Rashani and you know we're gonna talk. Ordinary people and extraordinary God. Check the reference in Ephesians 5. We walking in the light and we're living in love. You know Rashani, we gon' keep it intact. Cause every Monday got it coming. Yeah, we coming right back. So act like you know we get it on and poppin' at the Shani Show. You can talk to Shani anytime. It doesn't matter day or night. Shani, we're giving you light and love. We're coming on without a doubt. There's nothing you can't talk about with Shani.
welcome, welcome, welcome to the Sharing with Shani Show. I am your host, Shani. I am so excited to be here with you another Monday. We had serious technical difficulties last week. I could not get on. We couldn't get on to Facebook. We couldn't get on to Zoom. It would not connect, but we're here on October 26, 2020, 8 days before Election Day. Please go vote. So we're just going to get right into it. Of course, you know, we do the Wellness Whisper at the top of the show. And so just checking on Mika Fresh. Hope all is well with her and make sure. And if she joins us, that would be awesome. And we will get to her at some point during the show if she decides to come on. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you my friend and sister in ministry, friend, all of the above. Like, I've been trying to get her on the show for like 2 years, at least, maybe 3, at least, right?
Yes.
And so finally, I was just like, I just slid in her DM, as they say. And be like, can you come on my show? And she was like, yes. And she sent it, I was like, okay. And before I could even say, email me your info, she was sending me everything through the text message. I was so excited. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Minister Trudy to the show tonight. Minister Trudy is a native of Washington, D.C., born and raised in all 4 quadrants, born and raised in all 4 quadrants of the city, attended Paul L. Dunbar, and she is the baby girl of 2 biological sisters and bonus brothers. I mean, she could talk about her family. She was baptized for the first time in 1972 by the late W.W. Flood. I'm sorry. I'm reading. I can't see. All right. W.W. Flood at Southeast Tabernacle Baptist Church in Southeast DC. And so she could talk more about her journey and everything. I'm pretty sure that's going to come out. I know she's a mom. I know she's an aunt. I know she is Are you a grandmother?
I am.
A grandmother. I know she's retired, but she's going to tell us about herself in her own words. So welcome to the show tonight, finally. How you doing, girl?
Thank you so much. And yeah, you are absolutely correct. Finally.
So tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words.
Well, for one, I definitely am a native of Washington, D.C. Mother, a grandmother, aunt, sister, cousin, and friend. I'm in ministry. I've been in ministry. I was licensed in ministry 2011. What else can I tell you about myself? I am definitely what my name says, Trudy, the sassy girl, but humble. I am definitely humble. The sassy is not a negative connotation at all. I think growing up, I always had a little bit of sass with me. I have an aunt that used to call me Miss Trudy all the time, and I'm sure she probably still does. Um, like you mentioned, I am a grandmother of two. My granddaughter Paz is 5, and my grandson Avery, who everybody knows as Granddude, is 2. I have a daughter who is Jonica and a son Paul. Um, and like you said, I graduated from Dunbar in 1985. Woo-hoo. And I've been a long member, baptized for my very first time at Southeast Tabernacle. And as life would have it, I returned back home. I want to say it must have been 2013. And I have been there ever since under the leadership of the pastor, Donald L. Isaac Sr., and our executive pastor, Darrell H. Flood Sr., where they have been nurturing me, teaching me, guiding me, leading me. And it's just been a blessing. It's truly been a blessing for what God has done up until this point and what I know he'll continue to do.
Mm-hmm. And I love the fact like you've been there. I didn't even know that about you. And this is one of the things I love about this show, especially people that I really want to come on and I have, I've built this relationship with and I have a rapport, but they come on the show and then I find out new info. Like,
Yes.
I didn't know that was your childhood church.
Yes.
That is so, look at that. And so I want to talk about you coming back home. Like what? Like, because in the bio you talk about, you had a little detour, and then you come back home. And I think we all have detoured in our life, yes. Right? And I think it's a great setup for the topic because right. Our topic tonight is love after pain. That's not how you put it, but that's how I put it on Instagram this morning. Because I'm not even gonna hold you. Like I couldn't find the text exchange of the actual topic. So I was like, I remember the main 2 words, love and after and pain, right? Yeah. So I was like, I would just put it like that. But like, I'm sure you've gone through something for you to want to talk about such a topic like that. And honestly, in the time of COVID, everybody, stuff is ending for a lot of people.
I think so.
Right?
So, yeah.
And so, so I think it's a topic that a lot of people can resonate with and a lot of people can understand and a lot of people probably need help with. But so, how did you get there?
Well, what happened was, in 93, I rededicated my life to Christ. And that was at New Mount Carmel, Holiness Church of Christ. At the time, the late Bishop Raymond Jones was the pastor and bishop. He passed the mantle to his daughter, Coletta L. Jones, I'm sorry. And it was at a men's revival that my supervisor at the time, when I was working at AFIP, which is Armed Forces Institute of Pathology, she kept inviting me to church because, as you know, I've always been sassy. So she kept inviting me. And finally, on a Wednesday night, January 3rd, 93, I went up for salvation and my life changed drastically. I learned a lot of things about myself that I didn't know. Well, to fast forward, I lost touch when I switched jobs, and I just went back for a visit in 95, but it was after I had my son, of course. And, I left the church because I was shameful. You know how they talk about us when we have children out of wedlock. So when I went to my late girlfriend, oh my goodness, just thinking about this and talking about it is so emotional because she has always been my rock, always accepted me when I was at New Mount Carmel, no matter what I did and or said. She was just always a rock for me. So when I went back in 95, it was to her husband's funeral. And the love was so overwhelming that I kept on coming back. I didn't need to rededicate my life to Christ because I was already saved. I had gotten saved in that church. And the pastor, because at that time in 93, they were going through a shift. So in 95, everything was settled. And I started these new members classes where I learned all about salvation and this, that, and the other. But that's how that all happened with me transitioning out, if you will. So of course, 95, I got baptized. I never knew anything about baptismal because, as you know, the late W.W. Flood baptized me, as a matter of fact, twice. And when I got baptized in 95, that's when I knew and understood what baptismal was all about. And literally, when I say I went down in that water as the old Trudy and came up as the new I did. And I just, took off from there. And of course, like you said, our life take twists and turns. And, I had Paul in 95, of course. So needless to say, life is, moving, my mom passed in 97, and that's when the illness came. So for a long time, I was just down. And my pastor, Pastor Jones, she hung in there with me. She spoke life over me, all of those good things, But we all know church hurt can be devastating.
Yes.
And just after, coming back in 95 and getting baptized, and I'm thinking I'm on the right road and all of those things. And my mom passed, and I got stung by the church. So that, devastated me in such a way that I didn't think I could even, go on. But thanks be to God, in 2020, here I sit on the Shani Show.
Right.
Full of grace, full of mercy. Because if it wasn't for the Lord, literally on my side, where would I be?
Where would you be?
Yeah. So to tell you how I got back to Southeast Tabernacle, I had 3 just deaths back to back. Like one of my sister's brother-in-law, 30 years old, went to lunch and never drank, never smoked or anything, and just went to sleep and passed away. So on the eve of us burying him, one of my favorite aunts did the same thing. And 2 weeks after that, my mom's best friend since kindergarten at Miller, at Richardson, she passed away. So when Nick passed away, who was 30, his mom used to be an employee of the late W.W. Flood. So they knew the family, and my pastor and cousin, Donald, had come to the service. He didn't know I was in ministry. And he told me, he was like, you got to come by sometime. So that Sunday I did, and I have not left since.
Wow.
So that I got back to Southeast Tabernacle, and it has truly been a true honor, pleasure, and blessing to sit under my pastors and my cousins, to know that my grandmother, that was her only church, her blood, sweat, and tears are in those bricks, so I'm grateful to be able to sit with my cousins as well as my pastors, and they are definitely great leaders. All of the ministry are, they have seen me grow. They have seen me when I was lovable, when I wasn't lovable, and they kept on loving me. As they say, love the hell out of a person. They did. Right. And I'm so grateful.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about, you referenced it a little while ago. So just going back, just about church hurt. I want to stay there for a minute because, a lot of people deal with this, and that's why they move from church to church and, just trying to find the one, the one that fits. I mean, I was a church hopper in my 20s and 30s. Like if the gospel choir wasn't singing, I didn't show up, right? Like, because music is what transforms me, right? That is what speaks to me. And so I had to feel it in the music first. I've had a little bit more spiritual maturity where I don't need the music all the time, but that's kind of where I was in my 20s, 20 years ago. So, but a lot of people have been burnt by the church. And what do you say to those people that feel like they don't need to have a church, or they don't need like the community of what church represents? Because now we're in the era of COVID and church won't be the same.
It won't.
It won't be the same. So what do you say about that?
Well, what I say is this. As I referenced, I got stung for the first time by the church in 97 when my mom passed. And I thought that was devastating. But as I stated, we know that church hurt really, really hurt, because these are the people who say they love God and they say they love you, and you would hurt me in such a way. However, when I experienced hurt, I would say recently, not recent, but like now, not back in 97, that long ago, but now that we're in these times, when I did experience hurt, I knew how to handle it better. Because what happened, and again, my late girlfriend, Andrea Smiles, she always said how it doesn't matter what church you go to, it's going to always be some mess. So you have to learn how to buckle down and trust God and not the people. See, when we start going to church for the people, whether it be the pastor, the choir, the deacons, the deaconess, whoever, then that's where we stumble. Mm-hmm. Because if we're going for Christ, for kingdom building, then we can somehow weather the storm a little better. So as I stated, dealing with the hurt in recent years, it was different. I learned that just like God used Jesus as the sacrifice for us, he had to use me as the sacrifice in that situation to show the people that it doesn't matter what you do to her, what you say to her, or don't do to her or for her, because she trusts me, she's going to always prevail. So when we put our trust in God and not the people, the hurt isn't so devastating. It still hurts. Don't get me wrong. It still hurts. It still make you cry. It still make you don't go to church for a couple Sundays, sometimes 2 months at a time. Nobody checks on you. That hurts, because these are leaders of the church. We talking about the same people we worship with and fellowship with that say they love God, but you forget, because I know it's in the scripture where the one sheep went astray and God left the 99 and went after the one. Pastors and leaders today don't have that mentality. It's sad to say, and I wish they did, because we all know you go after the one. So, for those who are experiencing church hurt of any kind, I say trust God, because he can bring you through it. He definitely can bring you through it. And the same God that we serve in the valley is the same God we serve on the mountaintop. Amen. He's always in it with us, no matter what it is. Because for one, he's not going to put us in any situations that he's not going to get the glory out of.
Exactly. And I think people need to also be reminded that, people that go to church aren't perfect. They're not perfect, right? Exactly. We're all imperfect people, right? On this. Oh, I love you. You got a Wonder Woman cup. I love it. Yes, I love it. I just got sitting pretty. But yeah, people have to be reminded that the church is full of sick people, right? It's just people that know that they are nothing but filthy rags, right? Mm-hmm. They have an understanding of they know where their help comes from, and they know that they would not be anywhere without God, right? Like they just know without a shadow of a doubt. But just by knowing that doesn't mean that they're not going to stumble, they're not going to fall, they're not going to have these issues. It's just you know, but it's just but there is also a lovely thing about just the brokenness, understanding that through our brokenness that there is beauty in that, right? There's beauty in that, and that you could still shine and grow and build. So I want to talk about love after pain. Like, what were you thinking when you said this was going to be the topic? Were you thinking relationships, or were you just thinking really abstract differently when you came up with this topic?
Well, if I remember correctly, it was on one of your shows. I was tuned in. Like, I tried to remember every Monday. Some Monday I get, you know, I love fellowshipping with you. I love supporting you.
Thank you so much.
Of you. So it was on that show, and I think I can't quite remember what the show's topic was, but I do remember throwing that question out, and your response was, you need to come on the show and talk about it.
Right.
So in my mind, I was like, wow, did I just get thrown under the bus? So
no, I don't throw under the bus. I bring people's greatness out. That's what I do. I pull greatness out of people.
Yes, you do. And I totally agree with that. But the fact, you know, when I threw the question out there, I was thinking that, you know, we were going to discuss it and it would help me. So when you said I need to come on the show, then it really made me think about, yeah, what about that? You know, I know that I've experienced it. I know that I've gone through it multiple times, you know. So what I came up with in short was, until we get it right, we're going to keep going through that same fire.
Yeah.
So that was one thing. But I wasn't talking about just relationships. I was talking about a plethora of things. You know, we have girlfriends who we've been friends with forever. Guys have homies that they've been, you know, buddies with forever. And, you know, something happens, you know, and it taints the love and it hurts. So how do you love again? How do we get back to where we were or beyond where we were? You know, sometimes people think forgiveness means I literally forgot what you did.
Right.
You know, God does require us to forgive and forget. However, that's taking a stab in the dark to be able to just forget it totally. You know, I think in reference to him saying forgetting means don't keep bringing it up. You know, every time something happens, that's not the first thing you say, but you remember when, you know, because that's not the type of God we serve. Not to, you know, take away from anything that anybody goes, whatever faith they believe in. However, so I wasn't talking about just one thing. I was talking about period. You know, sometimes you have a love for something, you know, and it could be the way you craft things. You know, it might not necessarily be something that you're doing to sell, but you know how some people love washing their cars, and the least little piece of dust get on it, they out there washing it, you know. So it could be a lot of different things that we love, and somehow it hurts us, you know. And we can have all the right intentions, but because I understand now that people don't love me the way I love them, you know, people aren't friends to me or friendly to me the way I am friendly to them, you know. So a lot of times when we don't understand a thing or someone, it becomes so chaotic, if you will. You know, it becomes confusing. It becomes a lot of bucking up against, and you know, just friction, you know, unnecessarily, and not all bad, but when we don't understand, you know. The one thing I shared with my nephew today on the way to football practice was, it's hard to scold someone that you don't know or you don't understand, you know. So because I can't even remember what we were talking about, but whatever it had something to do with the whole virtual learning thing. And how a lot of times, even when they were in the classroom, The teachers didn't understand our children, and the ones of them who did, they had a little more patience with them. It wasn't just quick to send them to the office or detention or put them out of class or,
Right.
not have any interest in them getting adequate education. So we have to understand people in order to relate to them. We have to be able to relate to them in order to understand them.
One of the things I do want to chime in just real quick, because I feel like a lot of times people think that forgiveness means acceptance. Like I'm gonna forgive you, and people internalize that as saying I'm accepting your behavior. I'm accepting what you did to me. So that makes people to become less forgiving, because I don't want you to think that just because I forgave you that I'm okay with what you did, right? And so then that's why it's like this hard thing to forgive. But I know for me, I just been like really this year coming into a place where I can talk about what went wrong in my last marriage, right? And I did not want to put an incident occurred. I'm not gonna put it out there because I don't want to get sued, but an incident occurred, right? That kind of was like, okay, this was the final straw, right? But it wasn't that incident, right? It wasn't that particular incident that a lot of things led up to that point, right? And so what I wanted to do before even getting back out there, even like I wasn't even thinking 3 years ago, oh, like on to the next. I wasn't even thinking about that, because at that point I was just tired, right? I was tired of essentially meeting the same person with a different name.
That's right.
And I was tired of, what is that what am I doing that's attracting that type? Right? Like, what am I doing? Like, I really took ownership in my choices, right? And I feel like that is so important when you want to have an after something so bad. Like, you want to have like you don't want to go through that again. That's right? Like, I was tired. I'm like, I've been here before, right? And so I went to therapy.
Right.
And there was some days where I was like really mad because she like really stretched me and made me look at my decisions overall, not just in the context of what I initially went to her for, but overall. Like, we went back 20 something years, right? To the very first love. What was it about that very first what, right? That set this domino effect on meeting the same person with a different name. Like, I was tired of doing that. Right.
And what's so ironic is that's my conversation today, because that happens. And if women and or men would be honest with themselves, we all have that same conversation. Because for one, far as the therapy part of it, you have to go back, because when you don't go back to figure out, where did this all start? How did this all begin? Just to touch on it, now that I'm doing this whole trusting God and trying to heal my heart, because again, how do I love again? How do I love the people who hurt me the worst, who, of course, we know sometimes can be family, friends, your mate? So how do we get back to, as you said, loving again without it being the same type of person with a different face and a different name. I like the way one of my sisters put it, the same script, but a different cast.
Yeah. Oh, Whitney Houston said that. Oh, but your friend said it too. But
You
I go into songs. Everything reminds me of a
exactly.
song, right?
You,
She had a song, same script, different cast. It was with her and Deborah Cox. If I'm wrong, somebody who's listening tell me if I'm wrong.
exactly.
But
So
Whitney Houston had a song about that. That's
yeah,
exactly.
and it happens so often. It happens
Right.
so often. You know, it's just like the married woman who's been married for all these years, and after the marriage, now we real tight and all of that. Well, what happened to that when we were married?
Right.
You know, so again, how do we love again after the hurt? You know, and again, it doesn't have to be just with your mate. You know, we have sometimes sisters and or brothers who hurt us bad, you know, family members who hurt us bad, and we're supposed to just pick up the pieces and keep it moving. You know, now I do know and understand that a conversation definitely need to be had, but not to rehash the whole incident.
Right.
You know, forgive me for doing X, Y, and Z. I was unaware that I hurt you like that, you
Right.
know, or forgive me for not doing X, Y, and Z. I didn't know it meant that much to you, you know.
Right.
Instead of, you know, I like to think that we can't go to the same people in the same situation as us and expect for some help. In other words, I live on a fixed income, you live on a fixed income, and I'm coming to you for financial help when you are barely, you know, taking care of what you need to take care of. And I'm mad because you can't help me.
Right.
That makes no sense.
Right.
So that's a relationship severed because of my selfishness of not knowing and understanding. I'm sure if she could help, she would help. It's not my place to get mad that you can't. But
Exactly.
because we don't communicate it well, that's what happens with the severance. You
Right.
know, relationships become severed. You know, whether it's sisters, co-workers, you know, all of those things. I mean, it's nothing new to any of us because we've seen it done. I can almost guarantee there's some girlfriends out here who are not speaking because one couldn't help the other.
Mm-hmm.
There's a mother and a daughter who are not talking because of the way she thought was helpful. The daughter thought it was hurtful. You know, there's a father and a son out here who don't talk right now because they never had a conversation to find out, well, why did you leave?
Right.
You know, the son don't understand, I didn't leave you, I left the situation.
Right.
But because he's hurt by the fact that you left, period, they never had. So it's so many things that this topic can go towards, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so I do want to let people know we're talking about love after pain, how to love again after pain, after hurt, not necessarily, you know, intimate relationships, but family dynamics, friendships. We're talking about all of that. If you have a question or comment, you can press. I keep I'm on the radio, y'all. We've been doing this format since June. This is not new. So you don't press one on your phone. Just comment in the Facebook group. I've been on the radio for like 4 years. Like I'm so not used to live. Okay, and I'm gonna just shout out a few people. Kay Marie said 100. I'm glad I tuned in. She said yes, it's Whitney and Deborah Cox, referring to my song because everything I relate to everything with a song. She said glad I tuned in. Letitia Nicole said I understand that. Kay Marie said sharing my mess live. Thank you. Stephen Randolph is watching. James Irvin Drummond. These must be people you know. You know these.
That's my cousin Stephen Ray
Yeah,
is
that's
my
right.
Florida.
I don't know these people.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching the Sharing with Shani Show live on Facebook. Thanks, Heather, for watching always from upstate New York. Thanks, Rez Montana, for watching. Thank you so much for all the love and support. So, I, we could definitely we could go from, intimate relationships, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever that is, whatever you define as intimate. But, there's a lot of families, like it's not just COVID that's going to separate families,
That's right.
upcoming holiday season, right? You got families that I just don't talk to that person for whatever reason.
Mhm.
So, how do you, I guess we can sit there and say, you just have to, forgive, but how do you really do that?
There you go. That's right. How do you?
How do you really forgive someone that, and we all hear it all the time. Forgiveness is not about the other person.
Right.
I'm so tired of that cliche response.
Ah, yes,
I'm
ma'am.
just going to share it. I'm just keeping it. I share my best. I keep it 100 on this show. Everybody is tired of people that can't forgive they're tired of that, of hearing that.
Mm-hmm.
And they can't get past that. And I know it's a mindset thing, right?
Yes.
I mean, I thank God, honestly, Minister Trudy, that I have an LIG mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can definitely let stuff go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can LIG it in a minute, but that doesn't mean that we're gonna be the same.
That's right.
That doesn't mean we're going to be the same.
That's right.
Because
And we're
it's levels to this, right? Like I feel like I have enough emotional intelligence where I can categorize the level of pain. Oh, right, like the level of pain and the level of, because I think a lot of pain comes from unmet expectation.
Exactly.
Right? So you've expected something from someone, they didn't deliver, and now your feelings are hurt.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it happens so often. And I think sometimes we think that ignoring it or not addressing it helps, but it really doesn't, because it's just like they say, I'll never know unless you tell me. But sometimes you show a person without telling them. And that could be good and bad, So again, I'm just not that person that is going to, I've learned to be her, because of course, it was a time in my life that whatever came up, it came out. Didn't care whether it cut you or not. But thank God for my pastors and one of my favorite uncles, the Reverend Al Washington. When I tell you, between him and my grandfather, they are the reason, and of course God, they are the reason that I am still in ministry. I've been wanting to throw in the towel, Shani, because for one, I was so hood. Even my first year in seminary, I was so hood. Oh my goodness.
But I feel like the ministry needs hood. I mean, I don't think that that's like a bad thing.
Exactly.
Like, God can use all of that, because here's the thing: you're going to people, and you're going to be able to talk to people that someone else is not going to be able to do.
There you go. Period. And that's the thing.
So embrace your hood.
And I do. I do. Because again, I don't ever want to be so heavily bound. I'm no earthly good. As cliche as it sounds, I don't want to be her.
Right.
I want to be able. It's just like when my grandfather passed and we all hanging out at the house after the service and everything. When I tell you it was the most beautiful thing, I wish we would have had someone in the woods, in the tree, just recording us for the wrong reason, and saw all the glory of God and the love that we shared amongst each other. My kids hadn't seen some of their cousins since they were, I want to say, maybe 10 and 15. You know, the last time they had been to Florida with me, Paul was playing AAU ball at the time. So they hadn't been. And the love, Shani, that we shared with each other. You know how when we were hanging out and really partying, and it was so good that Friday night, we wanted to do it again that Saturday. That's how it was with us. And not to take the attention off the topic, but I think that when we love and we love hard the way we do, we always are the ones who get hurt. Yeah. And that's because of what you just said, our expectancy level. So I had to learn how to not expect people to be like me. In other words, the way I party is not going to be the way you party. The way you worship won't be the way I worship. When you come to my house, you might have to take off your shoes. But when I come to your house, it's all systems go. However, when we do things because we truly love the person, or it's, you know, just our nature to do, to help, to always be there, you know, whether it's good or bad, then we won't become so hurt. Not that we won't be hurt. Right. My good girlfriend, Cheryl Jackson on 104.1, she taught on when you're saved and broken. It's, oh goodness, it just escaped my mind. But I'm sure she'll tell us. But it's just like the girl, white girl, forgive me, but I think her name is Sharon Stone. She sings Bruised But Not Broken. And when we're saved, you know, our brokenness comes different than the unsaved, in other words. You know, we're not shattered when we're broken because we're saved, because we have God to put us back together, to help us through the brokenness. However, it doesn't mean it don't happen, you know, and it doesn't mean that we should not be affected by it, because hurt. I don't care who you are, where you are in life, hurt hurts. If you cut me, I'm gonna bleed. If I cut you, you're gonna bleed, especially if it's deep enough. Like my mother used to say, I'll stick it in and turn it. So, so, you know, but when you have a level of love for people, then it's a little easier than when you don't.
Right. Yeah. And I think also we have to start looking at people in this way, in this kind of like this supernatural way, how God looks at them and looks at us, right? So it's like it's like you have to have a different set of eyes, right? And it's not that you should not expect greatness from people.
That's right.
But when I was going through my, you know, just, I went back into a remembrance of myself, right? And you know, I've said for a long time that, you know, music, I get inspired by music. So there's this Mary J. Blige song, just Take Me As I Am.
That's right.
Right. And it's a part in the song where she was like, she's been up and down, she's on solid ground, and she answers to God, da 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 da. This is not the end. It's like she had to remember herself.
Yes.
Right? She had to remember that while she was broken and she was, you know, lost, because a lot of times when we get into relationships can drain us.
Yes.
Right. And I'm not just talking about, like I said, like intimate relationships. Relationships in general can drain us. Friendships can drain you, right? Work relationships can drain you. Ministry relationships can drain you. And you have to come back to a remembrance of self. And when you do that, because you're not gonna be, if you're not your best self, you're gonna, number one, find the best, and number two, you're not going to be able to recognize when you should kind of, move away from a certain situation or anything.
That's right.
Like this might not be the move for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you don't remember yourself, I said all of that and then forgot where I was going with the daggone point. I hope it comes back. So while I try to remember, let's shout out to a few people that's watching. So thanks Terry Bailey for watching. They just tweeting stuff out. Forgiveness means I'm not gonna worry about no mess because I'm blessed. Stress is awful. It wears your spirit out. That is so true.
Yes.
Tiffany Stevens, thanks for watching. James McElwain, thanks for watching. Virginia Page, thanks for watching. Trinette Washington said, exactly, the ministry needs hood. And she's like, thanks for having this conversation. So still can't remember where I was going with it, but my point, I don't have a point because I can't remember where I was starting. But I will say this, I would just change my whole point. We have to get into a place where, it's like, I don't want to, I don't want, what I really don't want people to think of is when I say, don't expect too much of people. I'm not saying that because I don't want to get DM'd all night long saying, Bonnie, you said, I'm that's not what I'm saying. Right. But what I am saying is, when you have relationships end because of, a lot of times because of unmet expectations, because we're looking at people as though that they can fill the gaps that we have within ourselves.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Right. And then also because I still can't remember where I was trying to go with that, but I have another point because it blessed my soul when I was going through my transition. When so I'm watching Alanya Fix My Life because at the time I really thought I needed my life fixed.
Okay.
Right. So I watched things that I can relate to. But one of the things she said on a show about 1.5 to 2 years ago is how she had to end her own 14-year relationship. And she had to end it not because of anything that immediately happened.
Right.
But she came to a realization that this person that she had been with did not love her the way she wanted to be loved. Right? And that not taken away with how he loved her. Right?
Right.
But she said that we don't get to choose how someone loves us.
Right.
We only get to participate in how we respond to that type of love.
Amen. I agree.
I was like, when I tell you that blessed me, because I was sitting here, because don't you in your mind, I gotta take it to the boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife thing, because that's near and dear to me. And I had to realize I'm not knocking the fact that you love me.
Right.
Because everybody loves me once they know me. Right. No ego. No ego. Like, okay, right. No ego. It's a little vanity there, but no, I'm so serious, right? But I'm joking, but I'm serious. But I'm not going, but I had to remember that the way that you love me is not the way I want to be loved. And then I was like, that's it. That was it. That was the whole problem.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Because sometimes we forget, as my best friend of, oh goodness, of more than 40 years, she told me once, we were having a conversation, I was going through, I'm sure, and she told me that, you know, people love you the way they know how. And even though she was talking about a relationship, but I incorporated it to, that's everybody. They
Yes.
you the way they know how. And that's not to take anything away from the way they love.
Right.
It's when we don't understand their way,
It
can
becomes
become
a problem.
exactly.
My grandmother loved by her gifting.
Mm.
She was a big gifter, right? That's how she loved. She
Mm-hmm.
didn't love by telling you, "Oh, I love you," but when she bought you something, she showed her love, right?
Yeah.
My mother loved by just, it was a constant affirmation of
Mm.
how, right. And so I can't help when I say everybody's gonna love me, because my mother put it in me that I was so special.
That's right.
And so, like, I can't do, like, she's gone to glory now, so she on the other side of heaven, and I mean, I can't let my mama down and not think that I'm the best.
Exactly. Because
Like,
if you don't think it, who will? My cheerleader coach at Dunbar said that to me. You know, we were in practice, and she, you know, because I was that girl that people always was like, smile. If you smile, you'll look better. I always had the expression on my face that I was mad or I was angry. But because you didn't know me and you didn't understand me, or you didn't understand or know why I looked the way I did, you know, didn't know what was going on inside of me.
right.
But that's what she always, I mean, she drilled that thing into me so much so that although I did it then when I was in Dunbar, but it escaped me. So for you to say that now, it reminded me that that's why I have, as some people would say, an air about myself. But it's not that, you know, as you said earlier, no ego, but I believe that I am the best. I believe that I am beautiful. I'm all of the positive adjectives that you can find. I believe that for me.
Right.
Because I don't believe it for me, then how can I expect Shani to believe it, or Trinette Washington, or D. Thomas? You know, how can I expect for anybody else to believe that about me if I don't? You know, we have to, as Yolanda Adams say, encourage ourselves. And when you don't, you become this person that nobody either want to be around, nobody wants to deal with. You know, I used to be her too. I'm telling you, this was a journey for me. And I'm just so grateful to God that he took his time with me and he allowed me to be exactly who I was, because what they didn't know was October 26, 2020 was coming. They didn't know July 1st, 2011 was coming. They didn't know. So people that knew me from my childhood, who try to keep me back to being that mean, nasty girl, they don't understand. I did a whole lot of work to get to here.
Right. 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 It's 9 o'clock. I feel like we need to have a part two.
Yes, we definitely do. We definitely do.
I just don't even know. Like, we didn't even tap into it. Like, I feel like a part two is coming, but it's 9 o'clock, and I just thank you so much, Minister Trudy, for coming on tonight. I thank people for watching. Shout out to Damon Carter. Shout out, Truth Loving Yourself. Thanks, Trinette Washington. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Mika, thank you so much for watching. Terry Bailey, Tiffany Stevens. Where can people get in contact with you?
Like, well, for people who don't know me personally, they can definitely get in contact with me via Facebook. My Facebook name is Trudy the Sassy Girl But Humble. I also have another page, is Trudy Sassy Girl But Humble. It doesn't have the in it, but the one that has the in it is my most active page. And my Instagram is humble _, Minister Trudy, something like that. You know, I'm not so tech savvy social media, but
so I'm gonna pull up her Instagram, y'all, because you know she got
so
Instagram.
while you're doing that, I will just like to say that we always need to keep the question of how deep is your love in the back of our, you know, how, you know, I say, I love you, Shani, and you say, I love you more. But do you really, you know, do we really love more? Do we really love a person more than their bad attitude? You know, on August, I think it was the second Sunday in August, I preached that, you know, how deep is your love, and do you love me more? Because if you love me more, then when I call you, the phone wouldn't go to voicemail if you love me more than the fact that maybe I didn't do something you wanted me to do, or maybe I did something that you didn't want me to do. You know, we have to be mindful of the things that we say, because it gives it life, you know. And I would like to say that I do love people more, you know, more than they love me sometimes, you know, more than the hurt that they've inflicted on me, more than the mistreatment that I've received. So it's, you know, it's a now that we're dealing with all of the things that we're dealing with in 2020, far as COVID is concerned, and, you know, just stuff, period, we have to let love be the main ingredient. As hard as it may be, love has to be the main ingredient. In order for us to be able to communicate with one another, we have to know each other's love language. I need to know that, you know, what I think is funny, you may not think it's funny, and it may hurt you, but we definitely should do a part two. I'm willing to do a part two. I like to thank my family, my Florida family, all of my family and friends for tuning in. Tiffany, my sister cuz Trinette, we call her Dip, my cousin Sally, who is D Thomas, and you know, a lot of my Florida family tuned in. I'm so grateful and thankful for all of you all. I'm sure, you know, Pastor always say, don't start calling names because you're going to forget somebody.
Right. Listen, let me tell you something. You can't, okay, so I do want to get your Instagram out there. It's the Sassy Humble Minister. So you can follow her on Instagram, the Sassy Humble Minister. I'm going to tell this story and then we're going to be out. So, you know, I got a new friend. Very supportive, very, very supportive. Love him to death. And doing the show a couple months ago, and I couldn't see any comments. I couldn't see any other comments. And Donna, my intern, was trying to send me the comments. So she was sending me, telling me who was commenting, because I didn't know how to do both. And
you sound like me.
I shouted out everybody but him. Until after the show was over. So, like, you know, it was, but I understood. I understood where that was coming from. And, you know, a lot of people, you know, you could get defensive, you could do anything, right? But it's all about listening, right? Like, because a lot of times communication ends because I'm going to put everybody in this because we've talked about it at one point, is that we listen to defend, and right? And if you just take the time to hear people, a lot of conflict could be avoided.
That's right.
People don't want to listen to hear. They want to listen to defend, and then they stop listening because they've already started to come up with a defense.
Yes.
To whatever is being said, right?
Yes.
Right? Yes. Like I was told today, it was so funny because I always say, no, I didn't do that, right? like if I move something out of place, I didn't do that, or I didn't put that there, right? And so the person was like, you sound like an only child, which I am, right? So then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna listen, because before I even hear the entire sentence, I'm already ready to say, it wasn't me. I didn't do that, right? So I finally was like, you know what? I'm gonna listen to the entire sentence. And right, and so then I was listening, and then I said, "Oh, I did do that."
Bless your heart.
And like I was like, "Oh, you know what? My bad. I did do that." Sharing my mess, like I'm just human.
That's right, and that's a great thing that we can share our mess. You know, sometimes you can hear something when we can listen and not hear, and then we can hear and not listen. Exactly. So it brings it all back to what you just said. You know, a lot of times people listen to already have a defense, a justification, or what have you. But if we listen, totally listen first, then you're absolutely correct. A lot of conflict can be avoided. A lot of relationships, laws can be fixed, or reunited, or don't have to be lost. Exactly. I just think that as grown adults, we should be able to have a grown adult conversation. Tell me what's on your mind, what's on your heart, what you like, what you don't like. Right. Because in the end, sometimes when you trade in the old beat up Chevy for the brand new Range Rover, it'll quit on you every time. But as long as
quit, because that's in my top 5 for
it will definitely quit on you. It will quit on. I've been seeing so many luxury cars with paper tags on the side of the road lately. I'm like, what in the whole world is going on? Did somebody just buy a car and didn't have enough money to put gas in it? I used to be her. Thank God I'm not anymore, But needless to say, it's life. And I believe that life is truly what we make it. If we just always negative, I mean, have you ever encountered people who they so jovial and positive towards everyone else, but the one person that got their back, or in their corner, and so forth and so on, and then you try to figure out, okay, like you said earlier, what am I doing wrong?
Right.
Or am I doing it too right? That can be an issue. Yes. Sometimes we love so hard and we do it because that's who we are. It's not that you're super special. This just who I am.
Right. Right.
This the way I was taught to love, with everything you got.
Everything.
Not just half stepping. You know how some people say it's supposed to be 50-50. No, it's supposed to be 100-100.
Yeah. Yep. I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for coming on. Oh, Ty said she can see me. Because listen, I don't know I need a new chair. I got a lot of stuff going on, right? They finally can see me above my chin. Like usually they can see my nose up. They can see my mouth moving. But I do have to shout out Empowered Women. Empower Women. That's the shirt that blessed me. And go follow them on Instagram. And they do a lot of great things with women empowerment and women entrepreneurs. So follow them and join us next week, day before election. Please go vote.
Yeah, definitely
necessary. We're going to have a really great conversation. So we had to reschedule last week's guest for next Monday. Powerful conversation around whiteness and white privilege. Don't want to miss that. Minister Trudy, thank you so much. This is the Sharing with Shani Show, highlighting ordinary people working for extraordinary God, sharing love, light, and life. If you know anybody or yourself want to be on the show, want to talk about life, love, and light, those are very broad topics. So someone slid through my DM. I'm about to hang up for real. But someone came in my DM and was like, what does sharing love, life, and life mean? Okay. Love. We talked about love today, right? We could talk about human love. We could talk about agape love. We could talk about all the Greek words of love. I didn't go to seminary. Minister Trudy did. She got those words, whatever. Okay. We could talk about that. We could talk about friendship, love. We talked about that. We talked light. Light is like your purpose. What are you doing? How are you creating impact? Let your little light shine. You know the song. What are you doing that's bringing light in a dark world, right? And life, everyday problems, everyday life. What is life giving? What is life draining? The topics are broad. We share love, light, and life. I don't know why I'm screaming, but sometimes I just get like irritated with people that say they watch us and be asking the weird questions. Like, I get so frustrated with that. But anyway,
You mind if I pray us out before we?
What we do, ordinary people. You don't have to be famous. You don't even have to have a whole lot of followers. But I mean, you should be on social media so we can tag you to invite you onto the show. Come on to the show. We've got like maybe 5 episodes left before we end the year. Be well, everyone. Thank you so much. God bless you. Peace.